All right, let's talk about something that's hiding in plain sight in pretty much every app you use, MVC. That stands for Model View Controller. And trust me, it's way more than just three letters on a screen. It's a really powerful way of thinking about how to build software.
So, to really wrap our heads around this, let's start with a super simple analogy. Think about a restaurant. You've got the kitchen, right? That's where all the magic happens, where the food is actually made. That's your model. Then you have the menu, what you actually see and choose from. That's the view. And who's the person running back and forth, taking your order from the menu and giving it to the kitchen? The waiter. That's your controller. See? Simple. That basic idea of keeping everyone in their own lane, that's the heart of MVC.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll break down what the classic MVC pattern actually is. Then we'll look at the big problem it was created to fix. After that, we're going to climb what I'm calling a ladder of complexity to see how it gets adapted for all sorts of real-world situations, looking at some specialized patterns. And finally, we'll wrap it up by looking at MVC as a flexible paradigm.
All right, let's get into it. What is the MVC pattern? At its heart, it's all about splitting up a program into three main parts that all work together.
First up, you've got the model. This is the engine, the brains of the whole operation. It's in charge of all the data, the business logic, the rules, everything that makes the app work. So going back to our restaurant, the model is totally the kitchen. It knows the recipes, it knows what's in stock, it's the source of truth.
Then there's the view. And this is exactly what it sounds like. It's everything you see and interact with. The buttons, the forms, the charts, you name it. Its job is to take the data from the model and make it look good for the user. In our restaurant, it's not just the menu, but also the beautiful plate of food that actually gets put in front of you. And the last piece of the puzzle is the controller. This is the traffic cop, the go-between. When you click a button or type something in, the controller catches that input and decides what to do next. It tells the model to update its data, or maybe it tells the view to change what's on the screen. It's the waiter, plain and simple, running messages between you and the kitchen.
Okay, so how does this all connect? Well, it's a pretty elegant little dance. You do something in the view, like click a button. The view tells the controller, hey, the user just did this. The controller then goes to the model and says, okay, we need to update our data. And once the model changes, it tells the view, hey, I've changed, so the view can update what you see on the screen. It's this constant loop that keeps everything running smoothly. But you might be thinking, why bother with all this? Why all these separate parts? Why not just, jam all the code into one giant file and call it a day? Well, that brings us to the whole reason MVC exists in the first place, to avoid what developers call spaghetti code. And there's a great quote that puts it perfectly. When your user interface code is all tangled up with your main application logic, things get messy, fast. Trying to make a simple change can be a nightmare. It becomes expensive, it's super easy to introduce new bugs, and it's just a recipe for disaster.
I mean, just look at the difference here. On one side, you've got that tangled mess, you change one tiny thing in the UI, and boom, you might have just broken some critical business logic without even realizing it. But on the other side, with MVC, you have what's called separation of concerns. Everything's in its own box. This means the UI team can work on the view, while another team works on the model. It makes everything faster, way easier to test, and just a whole lot less painful to maintain down the road.
Okay, but here's the catch. The classic MVC we've been talking about, it's not always the perfect tool for the job. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of deal. For some projects, it's actually overkill. And for others, well, it's just not quite enough. This brings us to this really cool idea of a ladder of complexity. And the idea here is to stop thinking of MVC as this rigid, strict thing and start seeing it as a flexible paradigm with different flavors or rungs on the ladder for different kinds of problems. So you know what? Let's actually climb that ladder. We're going to look at a few of these specialized MVC patterns and see exactly how they solve some really common everyday problems that developers run into. Okay, first rung on the ladder. Let's say you're building a fairly simple app, but your number one priority, above all else, is making sure it's super easy to test. For that, you might use something called the passive view pattern. The idea is to make the view completely dumb. It has absolutely no idea the model even exists. The controller does all the heavy lifting. It gets the data from the model and literally tells the view exactly what's displayed. And the big benefit here? It completely separates the view and the model, which makes writing automated tests for your logic an absolute breeze.
All right, let's head up to the next rung. Let's talk about a problem we've all felt the pain of, a slow, flaky internet connection. How in the world do you build an app that doesn't just freeze up and die when the network is struggling?
Well, that's where the disconnected model pattern comes in. To stop that horrible frozen screen of death, this pattern makes the controller the boss of all network stuff. It's the one that talks to the server, and it lets the model and view just do their thing without worrying about the network. And the whole point here is to keep the app feeling fast. The controller is the one dealing with the slow network, showing you a loading spinner or telling you if there's an error. So you, the user, never get stuck staring at a frozen screen. It's a game changer for user experience.
Okay, time for the top of the ladder. Think about a really big application, right? The kind of thing a large company would use. You might have tons of different screens that are all kind of the same. A screen to edit customer info, a screen to edit product info, a screen to edit supplier info. Writing that same save and edit logic again and again and again, that's a huge waste of time. So what's the solution? Well, this is where things get really cool. You can actually combine a couple of advanced patterns to build one single generic controller that's super reusable. It's a really clever way to build one piece of code that can manage the editing workflow for all those different screens. So here's how the magic trick works. You use one pattern that basically tells the model, hey, just pretend you're a simple service, and don't worry about all the complicated database stuff behind the scenes. Then you use another pattern that lets the view be smart enough to handle its own display logic. And what's the result? The controller is now free to only worry about the high-level steps, like save, edit, delete, and you can reuse that same controller all over the place. It's an incredible way to cut down on so much repetitive code. So now that we're at the top of the ladder, looking down, you can see that MVC is so much more than just 3 letters, right? It's a really flexible idea, a powerful way of thinking that you can adapt to solve all kinds of different problems. And it's an idea that's been around for a while, evolving constantly. I mean, it goes all the way back to the 1970s at Xerox PARC, which is just legendary. Then it got a new lease on life with web apps in the 90s, and then it absolutely exploded in popularity in the 2000s with things like Ruby on Rails. And today, the spirit of MVC in all its different forms is literally the foundation for almost every app on your phone, your computer, everywhere. And that leaves us with a pretty fascinating thought to end on, this core idea. Separating the what from the how, separating the data from how it's presented, it's more important now than ever. But think about it. Our interfaces are moving beyond just screens. We're talking to our devices. We're using augmented reality, virtual reality. So the big question is, what does view even mean in that world? How are we going to apply this timeless principle as we step into the future of how we interact with technology?